Hi everyone, this is Hillary with Waterlogged, and today in our fish feeding series of videos, we are going to take our chef hats off and get ready for going on vacation. Now, I don't know about you, but I am ready to go on vacation. School is out, summer is here, it's nice and warm. I'm ready to go on a trip. The only thing is, I've got a bunch of fish tanks that I need to make sure they're getting fed and taken care of while I'm gone. So in this video, I'm gonna give you a couple of tips and tricks that I've learned through the years on how to make sure that your fish are getting well fed while you are away. Now, if you're really lucky, you've got some friends that are in the hobby that are local that, have come over and seen your fish tanks and stuff before. So that's the first thing, is that you can always invite one of your fish keeping buddies to come over and take care of your fish. There's a good chance that they may even be using the same foods as you and are familiar with exactly how much you need to feed. And, they know those little nuances like making sure that your hands are clean if you have to put them in the tank, stuff like that. Now, if you don't have a buddy to come over and take care of your fish that's familiar with keeping fish, you can still have someone come over, but you have to do a little bit more work on the back end. And by that, I mean prepping out all of the food that each of your tanks is gonna need. So say, for example, I'm gonna be gone for 2 days, right? I've got a set of these little Tupperware containers for each of my 3 tanks. So if I'm gonna be gone for 2 days, I'm gonna portion out enough food, what I would feed each of my tanks in both of those days. So take my pellet food or any of my dry food, go ahead, put exactly what I need into the cup. Now, this might not seem like a lot of food to anybody that's coming to take care of your tanks, but you and I both know that this is more than enough for, say, a nano tank that's only got 2 or 3 fish in it. This is going to ensure that your fish tanks are not gonna get overfed while you're gone. Now, I don't know if you have the same issue, but I've got a cowfish Frank, and anytime people come over and see him, they always think he is starving because he just swims around and he just makes these cute faces at them and tries to convince people to feed him, and it usually works. So that's the sort of thing that we want to avoid, is our fish getting overfed. So on that same note, I would maybe put your jar of fish food, if you have it, somewhere out of sight, maybe not necessarily on top of the tank. That way, no one is getting confused when they are seeing that food jar and feeding out of the jar, as opposed to these little guys. Now, these work great with the pellets. You can just go ahead and stick each of those containers on their respective tanks. That way there's no confusion in who gets what food. Now, if you've got frozen food, that's a little bit of a different story. So you can go ahead and portion out all of that frozen food just like you would normally feed, and then stick it in the freezer. Whoever is coming over to feed, tell them to come over an extra 5 minutes early. Maybe take that food container out, spend a few minutes observing the tank, and hopefully after they're done observing the fish, then the food will be thawed and ready to feed. Now, another thing that you should keep in mind when it comes to portioning out the food that you have to feed, if you've got somebody coming over, is if you've got fish that are eating any sort of nori, any of those algae eaters, right? Now, one thing that they can do is they can take those nori clips out of the tank each time when they come over. Just tell them to make sure that their hands are clean, they don't have any lotions on when they're putting their hands in the tank, and have them remove the old nori clips and just replace it with one new sheet of nori, or however much you want. But go ahead and make sure that whatever you're asking them to feed is already portioned out. Something else you can do with those nori clips, if you have more than one, you can always just set each of those nori clips up with the correct amount of nori, and if they come over and that feeder clip is empty, you can just have them put another clip in the tank and get them all out when you come home. Now, the last tip that I have is an auto feeder. These things are fantastic. There's a huge variety of them that are out there on the market right now. They range from simple ones like this to ones that are more complex that actually hook into your aquarium controllers that you can control from an app on your phone. But I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this one. I really love it because it is super simple, it's easy to use, and it comes with everything that you need except for the food, right? They wouldn't expect you to have the food in this container. So it's great also because it will feed up to 4 times a day, and in each of those feedings, it will dispense food either once or twice, depending on how much you want it to dispense. Now, one thing that you really need to do before, don't wait to the last minute to do this, go ahead and set up your auto feeder. there's a little gate on it. You're gonna wanna set that gate at what you think it needs to be open. Do this over a container and hit that test button. So this will rotate the barrel and product will be dispensed out of the opening in the little container. There's a good chance that with the distance that that gate is open, you're probably going to be dispensing way more food than you actually need. So that's the reason I'm having you test this before you stick it on a tank and go out of town. Now, once you figure out exactly how wide you need that little gate to be open, you can put it over on your tank and test it out. Now, like I said, I would recommend doing this a day before you have to leave. That way you can make sure that it's working properly and correctly. Your fish are getting the right amount of food that they need. All right, that wraps up all of the tips that I have for making sure your fish are well fed while you're on vacation. Now, I'm curious to know if you've got any tips or things that you do while you're away on vacation to make sure that your fish are well fed. Leave a comment below and let me know. I'd be curious to hear if there's any other things that I haven't thought about. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.